Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Spitballing. I'm Matt Taylor here with my good buddy.
Kyle Amundsen.
Holy shit, is that a Boston accent I heard?
Oh, man. You know, like when you're around those people, you do want to talk like them.
Do you?
Yeah, but I figured I couldn't pull it off anyway.
Did you just say sure a lot?
You betcha. And they're like, oh, gotcha. You're from Minnesota. But that whole, like the mass hole thing, you know, like.
The mass hole,
yeah. Like where people from Boston are rude. Now, like in my experience, you know, we were all over Massachusetts, but mostly in the Boston area, and I did not find that to be true at all.
Really?
Yeah, it was. You know, people are a little less, like, you know, how we fall, like we overall.
Well, we're like Minnesota nice, yeah.
Yeah, where we like fall all over ourselves to be super polite, but we really don't give a fuck.
Right.
They don't fall all over themselves to be super nice, but they're like, but they are still like one thing. And I was just talking to somebody about this. I was actually talking to Nathan about this because I called him because I hadn't fucking called him on his birthday.
Oh my god, the dirty Pole. We should have him on sometime. That would be great.
Fuck yeah.
I haven't seen him in forever.
Me neither, but he keeps just they shit out kids like left and right.
Yeah, he's got 43 now.
Yeah, it's fucking ridiculous. I think they're like, what are they, Mormons now? So we were talking about how like growing up with a greater population density lends itself to certain things. You know, and when especially in a city that sprouted up before civil engineering.
Right.
Where it's fucking hard to get around.
Yeah.
I've never been anywhere where people were like, so like, you know, like let you cross in front of them or like let you onto the fucking, like, they have like much bigger, like, roundabouts and shit. Rotaries.
People actually know how to use them there.
Yeah. But they let each other in.
Super weird.
They let each other cross the street in front of them. Shit like that. The stuff that like,
go fuck yourself.
right.
Minnesota nice.
Like, and but they, you know, they're very good about that shit. And I mean, and not just in like touristy places or downtown or whatever, because like we went to, you know, like we drove around like the ancestral home. It's like Christine's mom grew up in the same neighborhood as my relatives out there. So the Dorchester, the Dorchester neighborhood, and it's all over fucking Boston and the outlying area. Yeah, it's weird. That population density, like, that's what I'm thinking lends itself to the you know. People have to get around. You got to let people fucking go about their, you know.
But they're also not like overly like nice when it's not sincere. I mean, I think we've talked about it with PJ Severson all the time. You know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like he comes off kind of as a prick, but that's his like.
Also he's a prick at heart.
Well, he is a prick at heart. but it also is his like New Yorkiness that like kind of like lends it.
Like,
to
sorry, I didn't fucking fake ass like kiss your fucking, you know, like slobber all over your butt cheeks. You know, like
right.
It's fucking. That is one thing, you know, like that with that saying about like Minnesotan will give you directions anywhere except to their house.
Right.
You know, and people get that weird idea. They think Minnesota nice just means that we're these wonderful you know, like we're so fucking loving and caring. No, it just means that we're polite.
If somebody asks us for directions, we'll give them directions whether we know where that place is or not.
Right. Sometimes the truth is the least interesting.
You just got to keep driving that way.
Which brings me to my idea that started out as a joke, but now I'm not sure that it's a joke anymore.
Well, I did see this post on Facebook, and as I told you, I just woefully like tried to stay ignorant of it because I was like, this seems like something we should discuss. So what is your ideas?
So now that you can do those guided tours, like of downtown Brainerd, where they lay out the history for you, and you know they tell you all about these, you know, like the events that actually happen,
historical landmarks, and this is where,
I thought, wouldn't it be more fun to do that with us?
Exponentially more fun.
And we, instead of like boring people with Brainerd's kind of, you know, boring history, we make up shit.
Yeah, we just tell them what really happened.
Yeah, like
Like the actual facts.
yes, the facts as we deem
Right.
like fit for their consumption. And I was like, that sounds amazing. And then the more I thought about it, the more it started turning into kind of a pub crawl /
Well, there would have to be
walking
drinking
tour.
involved.
Oh yeah.
Well, stumbling.
And then because I posted on Facebook because it was just a little joke, and I would have been like, yeah, if I would have got 30 likes, I would have been like, yeah. But now like about 140 people have liked it, and a lot of people have chimed in and stuff. And then I talked to Rob, and Rob was like, because I was like, we could have shirts made. He's like, I'll take care of that.
I didn't even read all the comments. I skimmed through them, but somebody actually asked if we take dog coin, if we'll take dog coin, and I was like, and that's all meta. So meta. Do you guys know what dog coin is? I fucking don't know.
I don't know anything
It's
about that
some
shit.
kind of kryptonite currency. Or
Yeah.
something. But Meta's son Cade got into it, and he's like, killing it, and then she got into it, and she's, making some money, and she's like, oh, you should invest dog coin. I'm just like, just shut the fuck up about your dog coin. I just don't care at all. I don't care about money. I can't get the impetus to care. But
I hoard bullets.
well, I'm in regardless. Like,
Well, and I was. That's just. I started thinking about it, and I'm like, it's something we need to discuss. Also, might be nice because we just spent the last year in lockdown, which it sure does feel nice to since I got. I figure, okay, so now I'm in that group where I got the 2
both vaccines, yeah.
I'm vaccinated and shit. Now I can go into these places and stuff. Now I'm trying to figure out because I still have my, the impulse to grab my mask and wear it in.
I pretty much wear it unless, I don't have. I mean, I try to wear mine everywhere.
See, like I told you I was going to do, I got a couple of errands to run after this, and I think I'll probably wear it. But I'm not, at this point, I don't even know why I'm wearing it anymore. Because I guess the research isn't in on whether or not a person who has been vaccinated can spread.
I simply wear it so I can glare at people that don't wear it.
Well, and it's nice to be in disguise,
Right, that, and if I want to get away with something.
Yeah. But I just think and I'm also struggling for a name, but I think spit crawling might be the thing.
Yeah, spit crawling. So are you envisioning this as a guided tour, with a group of people? We are the tour guides to downtown Brainerd.
Yes.
And we go from essentially bar to bar because honestly, what else is there in downtown Brainerd to look at? And then we
go thrift shopping.
We could go thrift shopping, so it's going to be a day drinking experience. And then we explain to them all of the great and glorious history.
Yeah,
this is the place where I got into the fight with the guy with when I was wearing a motorcycle helmet.
See, I thought about that. I'm like, we should
out.
probably leave our stuff out.
We got to leave our stuff out of it.
I was thinking about that because I'm like, otherwise we're going to wind up telling a lot of stories, which is still an episode of this we need to do. But otherwise it's going to be yeah, whatever. And I almost got arrested for pissing in this alley, and that wasn't even the first time. That day that the cops.
I don't think we need to make all the shit up because we definitely could show them the alley where that fucking that slumlord chick gave Steve Lastovich the blowjob. I mean, I know right where that is.
That's also true.
There's still there's still like a chalk outline of his splooge.
And yeah, shit. There's all kinds of stuff we could, and that's like folklore now. That's part of the history of Brainerd, and yeah. But there's just all kinds of shit. I really think that we could make something fucking fun out of that. We'd have to limit the size of our group though, and I don't know how many people would actually I'd say 10 people would be a success.
Sure.
But then true to our pattern, we'd be 10 people. Awesome. Next time it'd be 20 people. But then after that it'd be 3 people.
Right.
Right. But whatever.
But whatever. Yeah. Well, hey, whatever we do, we are in. Now, were you considering filming this And
See, that's the part that I thought would be tough, just because audio is such a problem.
so I did a little bit of thinking about it, and I thought, oh my God, if we actually try to make this into like a spitballing addendum, it would be difficult. Like controlling your audio is just a huge bitch when it comes to anything like that.
Yeah.
Not an impossibility though.
Well, we need microphones.
Well, we would need cordless microphones
and we
other
need
things.
bullhorns.
And we would need bullhorns.
Yeah.
Well, fuck yeah.
I mean, once we're like, especially like once we start drinking,
we actually,
if we got a group of 20,
we don't really need microphones and bullhorns. We probably just need bullhorns. But
yeah.
well, let me put a little thought into how that could happen, because it would be fun. It would be fun, but we would never be able to mic everybody.
No.
But we would have to mic us.
Yeah, and we'd have to be able to like individually
have a sound guy. So we'd have to have a crew. We'd have to have a cameraman and or a camera person and a sound guy.
But we've kind of
sound person.
We've kind of got the technology. We've kind of got the because we've got Chode.
Oh yeah, I'm sure we can find people that would be totally willing to do it. Yeah.
Yeah. Shit.
Yeah. Interesting. Well, you watchers, listeners out there, let us know what you think about that idea, and send us your ideas, and we would be happy to not incorporate them.
Yeah, it's just something we're kicking around. If you want to, give us your feedback.
Spit crawling.
Yeah.
Spit crawling.
I thought about a lot of, because at first I was like, oh, I like every permutation of the name plus pub crawl.
Did you ever watch the TV show back in the day, Up All Night with Dave Attell?
Yeah, fuck yeah.
It's a fucking...
Which is kind of a spectacular show.
It's pretty much like I can't even really know how to describe it, but it's brilliant. And basically, Dave Attell, who is this very funny comedian, who is actually sober now, and even funnier. And a lot of comedians don't get funnier when they sober up.
No,
but he did.
God, no.
And but he was kind of a drunk, and he would just tool around New York City and get wasted and talk to people, and that was the entirety of the show. Like, that's it. No, nothing else. And he would just go around, and it was a fucking great show.
That guy's been in some of the funniest like improv like acts and settings and stuff.
Well, that's
because
he's super quick on his feet. I do think that this does have some potential because of the fact that, like, even though I think that you're brilliant and funny when you're prepared, you're such a great off the cuff person. Every time we go to dinner, or anything like that, I just laugh the entire time. Like you just fucking crack me up. What is this? What is this thing I am putting in my mouth? Just some of the shit you say.
I thought it was a weird pepper.
Blows me away. So I think that's a fucking good idea. Let's do it. Let's fucking do it.
I think I really think and especially like if we just did it like once. Or maybe once a summer, or maybe it becomes like a.
It doesn't have to be a huge time commitment thing.
Yeah, I was thinking like, do we do it once a month during the summer? I'm like, maybe we just do it like one time during the summer, or at least like we'll see how if people love it, if people want to do it again or something.
I mean, we can do one and then see how it goes.
Yeah, because we can always make up fresh shit too. Like I was like, okay, we're not gonna. This isn't gonna be like nothing that we say is gonna become canon. Like. We
well, it's all canon.
Write that down. Write it down. But you go on the tour and you're like, last time you said that, It doesn't matter what I said last time. This is
spit crawling.
This is the up to date data.
Huh. Well, it's an interesting idea.
And seriously, it was a joke. I was like, oh, it'd be funnier to like go on a tour where they just make shit up, and I'm like. Wait a second.
Well, most of our best ideas are kind of like a lark, such as spitballing.
The name itself, yeah.
Well, not just the name, but this entire concept. It has been just over 2 years now when I put a post out on Facebook. And it was on my Facebook memory, and I was like, oh my God, it just made me feel all warm and fuzzy. And it said something to the extent of, last night I got to see one of my favorite people in the world, Kyle Amundsen, for 8 seconds, and he asked me if I'd be interested in doing some kind of, sorry, it's my ice machine, doing some kind of a podcast together, and well, what say you? And everybody was like, yeah, that'd be fucking great. And I was like, man, this is our 61st episode. We are 2 years down, and we were thinking it would be like an hour long, and we would do it once a month. And they are on average 3 hours long. Yeah. And for a long time, we were doing them weekly, and we're still doing them, at least once a month.
Yeah.
And we don't ever seem to come to an end. I don't feel any less like this is a worthwhile adventure than I did day one. As a matter of fact, it's gone the opposite direction. Like, I feel, we talk about it all the time, but I'm like, we got to cast.
Absolutely.
I got some shit I got to talk about.
Yeah, I needed it. Like, when we've talked about this before, it's just one of the things that I need to, like, kind of keep myself on an even keel.
Right. It's a little therapy.
Yeah. Very therapeutic. Very therapeutic.
So I was going to, just going back to Boston, I saw that you posted a thing on there that the founding fathers were into
Love the D. So that giant penis that I was posing next to was actually that's Samuel Adams' grave.
Oh,
yeah,
he was a dick.
Oh, well, I mean, he loved the dick. Look at that thing. That's clearly a penis. I mean, over a couple hundred years, like the veins like seem to have like worn off there and stuff. Right. But that's definitely a dick.
I noticed that. Like, and somebody had mentioned on there, like, of course they like the D because that's the only people that they allowed to vote. Yeah. And I was like, yeah, that makes sense.
Well, I think that it was like, I think they didn't mean to found a democracy. I think it was a democracy.
That's probably true.
So
I also noticed it was white.
It was impressive.
Yeah.
Especially
for a white one.
Right. you didn't see the one on the other side. It was Frederick Douglass's. And,
that thing was giant.
You couldn't even see me in the picture.
So one thing I wanted to say
that's racist.
Oh, of course it is. One thing I wanted to say about you were talking about how the people in Boston, like they're. What did you say?
Masshole.
Masshole. Okay, I got
Which
it.
I hadn't heard before, but I got there and they're like, "Oh, like, so what do you think of the, what do you think of the massholes so far?" And I'm like, "You guys seem wonderful."
I spent a little bit of time in Louisiana, and they always talk about Southern hospitality.
Yeah,
that is a fucking myth.
Yeah. Although Cody maintains that it's super legit, but Cody's not even like from the deep South. He's like from Kentucky.
Yeah, I've never been to Kentucky. I think that's where, that might be North Carolina, which is about the same area. But actually, I don't have any idea about my geography, so who the fuck knows? But yeah, I don't know. But man, Louisiana, not friendly at all.
It didn't look friendly in shit.
Unless you went to the quarter, then it was really friendly.
Too friendly.
Yeah. Well.
Oh, Southern Comfort was the name of the movie that I was thinking of. I was going to say Louisiana did not look friendly in Southern Comfort.
I don't think I've ever seen that.
Really? The guardsmen get like lost on maneuvers and shit, and oh man, they wind up like getting a bunch of them get killed by hillbillies and shit. It's
there's a lot of
Powers Booth and stuff. Like it's an old like early.
I never went out into the like the bayou, or anything like that.
I've never been to Louisiana, although I did date a wonderful girl from. Oh shit. Her last name was Abear, which I guess is like a common
they all kind of have that
people
like
name.
Louisiana is a super interesting place because it's like it was like a French colony for a long time, and then like whatever. So it has like all this diverse history. There's the whole Creole language.
Creole shit, yeah.
There's definitely this kind of like undertone of fucking voodoo and everything, and the graveyards are fucking crazy cool, and there's a lot of weird stuff down there. But
there's a lot of cool graveyards in Massachusetts,
bet,
obviously.
Yeah.
Well, that one that we were at,
place.
like that was right. That was actually the one with the giant dick. That was actually downtown. So there's
really?
Huge buildings like looming all around it. But I mean, this grave is kind of a fucking big deal. I mean, like there was. Seriously, like there was like a half a dozen of the guys that signed the Constitution, the founding fathers and shit, like in that tiny little graveyard,
Huh.
in the middle of fucking downtown.
Huh. That's fun, crazy.
It's cool.
I was just gonna say like I don't know why I'm talking about Louisiana, but I just was thinking about this. But like everybody was pretty mean down there. Like you go to Walmart, and I went into Walmart. It was like 102, and it was August. And I asked like the guy if like I said, where are the sandals? I cannot find sandals. And he's like, it's August. We don't sell sandals. And I was like, it's 102, motherfucker. Like, seriously? And he was just a dick. And I was like, fuck this place. But then
the rest of them just walk around fucking barefoot.
Then I went in the Quarter, and that's a completely different world. Like, you get on the Quarter, and it's like the old French Quarter, which is where everything is. That's Mardi Gras. That's what you think of when you think of Louisiana. And it's a completely different place. And everybody's so fucking friendly, and it is so cool. And like, I don't know, it's weird because they have people that stand out on the street and they try to call you in. They're like carny callers kind of thing. Yeah, and it's just a bizarre place. And then I was down there with a bunch of guys, and this was post Katrina, so I was down there like doing work for Katrina, and I was out with a bunch of guys one night. We're out drinking on Bourbon Street.
He's not talking about the hurricane. He used to date a girl named Katrina.
Yeah, it's Katrina. Yeah, well, she was kind of a hurricane. Just left wreckage. And so I'm downtown with a bunch of guys, and we're drinking or whatever. And there's this super, super awesome caller, and he's trying to get us to go into this fucking strip club. And I was like, God damn it, I do not want to go into the strip club. But all my buddies were like, come on, let's go. And I was like, fucking fine. No cover. Come on in, no cover, So I'm like, fine. So we walk in. And it is not a pretty sight. And the bouncer comes up and he's like, hey, you got to have a drink. And I was like, fuck, all right. Me and we'll have 2 Miller Lights. And he's like, all right, $16. I was like, oh, great. So I gave him $16, and I literally get a Dixie cup of Miller Light, right? It is like a cup. It's got to be at least a 4-ounce cup. Perfect, fine, no big deal. I don't care. And then this fucking toothless lady comes up to me, and I was like, oh. And I go, gotta go. And I fucking ran out the door. So I bailed on my buddies in this strip club, and then I'm out on Bourbon Street all by myself, which apparently that you're never ever supposed to be by yourself on Bourbon Street. That's like the thing. They're always like, put your wallet in your front pocket and never be alone. And I was walking, so I just kept walking down. I would go to this bar, that bar, whatever. And there's a point on Bourbon Street where it stops being the regular Quarter.
I always carry my wallet in my front pocket anyway. I don't want straight razor to the ass cheek.
It's better for your back. But there's this part on Bourbon Street where it ceases being like the French Quarter and it starts being the very gay French Quarter, right? And it like literally it becomes and
you just wandered into the Francais Quarter.
The Francais Quarter, but it's a stark difference, right? Like you're walking along, it's going, and then all of a sudden you're like, everything's so much more colorful, and everything is so much more beautiful. It's cleaner, and the people are way fucking nicer. And so I spent that not the entire night. I went home, but I spent that night out in all these gay bars in the Francais Quarter, and fucking loved it. I never bought a drink, right? And also I was in a relationship and whatever, but there were way more beautiful women in the fucking gay Quarter than there was in the regular French Quarter, and I just had a super fun night. And then I get back out. And I meet up with my friends, and they're like, "Where the fuck were we? We thought you were dead." And I was like, "I was down in the gay Quarter, guys, and you are totally fucking missing out." Like right. I cannot for the life of me understand why you would be here when you could be there, because that was great. But there were definitely lots of assless chaps, which, by the way, all chaps are assless. Yes. But yeah, it was one of the more fun nights I've ever had. On Cape Cod, when we went up to Cape Cod, we went up to Provincetown, which is Provincetown is one of the gayest places in North America. It's where they have Bear Week. Oh, okay.
There's also I think it's on Hulu. They had like a cop show, like a murder mystery show that takes place in Provincetown, and they're like on that show you get like a little glimpse of like the nightlife, because by day it's like really like this quaint touristy, unless it's like Bear Week or whatever. Because like I don't know if did you ever see any of the pictures Christine was walking around with Flat Kyle? She had like a picture of me on a stick and stuff.
With, like, not this time.
No.
Oh, yes, I did see them long ago.
Yeah, so a lot of those pictures, like the guys in those outrageous costumes and shit that.
Yeah.
Like that was Bear Week.
Yeah.
Well,
you'd be so popular in Bear Week.
I probably would. But and you know me, like whatever. I just as long as I get the attention,
we need to go, and I gotta wear my significant otter shirt, and we gotta just.
But yeah, so we went to Provincetown.
So then, like back this might be a little bit out of context, but we had a guest on a couple times, friend of Kyle's named Ace, and Kyle would like save Ace from assholes at the bar and come up and be like,
"Hey, these are my black friends.
That's my black friend. I didn't go all the way to the hood to collect this black guy for you to be friends with him. He's my black friend." So that would have to be like what we would do. Like if we went out there, like you would have to be my little protector.
Yeah.
So that people come up and like buy me drinks, and then I would be all cute, and then you would be like, "Hey, that's my otter. That's my significant otter. Get your own fucking otter."
But Provincetown was fucking great. But like I said, all these towns that and Provincetown is also so all these, like every town in the fucking that's close to the ocean in New England has a story about how it is the first community in that fucking region.
Okay.
Provincetown probably really was,
right.
I think, like historically. But we also went to Plymouth and stuff like that, but Provincetown, Cape Cod is fucking cool, man. I ate a lot of lobster. I had a lot of seafood.
Did you guys go to Cape Fear?
No, that would be I think that would be Georgia,
like right next door.
Or
I don't know.
Louisiana.
I actually have no idea. I thought Cape. You said Cape, and all I could think of was Cape Fear. But I guess that probably wasn't even there.
Man, I was just thinking about that show again the other day. But Cape Fear, was that Louisiana?
I have no idea.
Yeah, because well, at least Robert De Niro's character was a Cajun.
Oh, it's been a really long time.
Anywho, where were we?
I don't know what we're talking about. Just one last thing about that area. Meta and I just got finished with what the hell's it called? Stephen King based Castle Rock.
Oh,
the series Castle Rock.
Yeah.
Did you watch that?
I did.
Yeah,
I liked. Was it the second season that I liked way better?
Yeah, I liked the second season better too. But
Yeah.
I had heard, a couple other people had said that like it lost its like way after the first season. But I loved them both. I thought it was really
I
good.
loved that. Yeah,
but the second season was great.
And everything, like his shit's always in Maine.
Yes, but it's still that.
Yeah.
It's like that whole. Like,
I'm gonna check out. I decided that every
East
time
Coast.
I go back to New England, because like we got to do the family stuff in Boston there. But I think next time I'm gonna check out like New Hampshire and eventually I got to check out like Maine and Vermont and shit like that. I need to explore the Northeast. I need to explore New England.
Yeah. I have never been nowhere, even anywhere.
Well, you know me, I don't like to travel.
I don't either.
It's not my thing. And I like being different places to explore, but I don't like the getting there.
I don't either.
And I fly medicated and shit, and I just hate flying. Fucking hate flying. But you just can't get around it.
Like I wouldn't mind like going on a long trip if in like a fucking RV. If I had a big RV and like whatever.
Even a van.
Then I can have my shit.
Yeah.
I want my shit.
Yeah. True. Yeah. Because that does get to bum me out. I like being home. I like the comforts of home.
Though, like, we can't do the RV now because Biden has raised the gas prices to $7 an hour.
That son of a bitch.
Yeah.
I keep seeing that shit. I'm like, where the fuck? Like, You know, one of the biggest fucking differences between the left and the right are there's not a lot of fucking grown-ups on the right. And if they are grown up, they're like really quiet and standoffish when the stupid people are talking. You don't ever like they're like I've gotta hand it to them. Like they do present a united front on everything, even when it's completely fucking stupid.
Well, it's the stupidest fucking thing I've ever heard. Like there's a refinery that like went down, and because of that, the gas prices have gone up.
Biden.
Okay. But
goddamn. Remember Obama? Thanks, Obama. Yeah. Everything fucking.
But I'm like,
you gotta be fucking kidding me.
Like seriously, like completely out of anybody's control. And man, Saudi Arabia is the place that fucking like controls gas prices. Period. Like that's it. And I mean, this is a local phenomenon. Like right, but globally, it's Saudi Arabia. And also the other thing that I kind of get frustrated with that people don't understand is, and I don't know what the line is, but once oil reaches $110 a barrel, I think it's right around that area. Gas prices are pretty expensive at that point. But then guess what happens? The U.S. economy gets fucking better because now all of a sudden American oil is worth getting out of the ground. So it's like this. There's all these pros and cons to all this shit.
Well, and one thing for me, when oil goes up a few cents, so it's more expensive at the pump. But I feel like I drive a lot more than most people, and and I'm not fucking, and obviously I'm not fucking wealthy, but I don't notice. Like
right, yeah.
I have to gas up. Like I gas up a lot. I think I drive quite a bit more than the average person.
Well.
But I don't notice fucking gas prices.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God, I filled up and it cost me $1.30 more than last time. Right. I am fucking outraged. Like,
the other thing
shut the fuck up, you whiny cunt.
Kind of cracks me up. Some of the people who are bitching about it are like, yeah, my truck that gets 8 miles to the gallon now. It's like, I mean, geez, I can't have both my Trump and American flag signs on there anymore.
You know how much it cost me to roll coal?
Yeah, it's fucking silly.
I rely on that to impress my wife and my sister. The same person.
My wife's sister. My sister wife.
But, you know what else was weird? So all over fucking, like Massachusetts has been like through COVID has been the state that has had the most restrictions and shit.
Well,
people, they wear masks outside there.
So Massachusetts, it has one of the very best state-run healthcare systems.
Yeah.
And guess who's responsible for that? Mr. Sparkly Pants, a Republican. Yeah, Mitt Romney.
Really?
Yeah, nobody, and during the whatever presidential election, when Mitt Romney was like running for president, that was like one of the things that the right kept fucking criticizing him for. The other right, like all the right, they were like,
good healthcare.
Yeah, but what about you and your socialist healthcare system? And like literally, Massachusetts and Minnesota were the two best, but Minnesota was behind Massachusetts when Obamacare got put through. And Obamacare actually did make Minnesota's state-run healthcare a little bit worse compared to what it was before, but it's still pretty fantastic in Minnesota. And thank God we don't live in Kentucky. But Massachusetts is fucking top of the line as far as like universal healthcare goes of any state in the nation, and it's fucking Mitt Romney who like was the governor at the time and the like also like leading force on that. And I just got a kind of a kick out of how they ran him down for like the.
Well, Massachusetts is also littered with fucking colleges. There's colleges everywhere. Major colleges, big, huge universities. I mean, we all know somebody that graduated or that graduated from a fucking school in Massachusetts. I mean, they're all.
Of course you do, because they will tell you that they did.
Maybe. Right. You went to MIT? No, actually, I don't even know anybody that went to MIT.
But if you did know somebody that went to MIT, they would tell you. You don't know anybody who went to MIT because they'd tell you. And they'd be wearing a jacket that said MIT.
But But yeah, so like lots of schools and shit. But yeah, the masks outside thing was weird for me.
Oh, they're a mask outside place?
Yeah. And I was like, fuck.
I think that's counter to science, but okay.
Well, I know. And I felt like I felt like out there, I felt like I was one of the people that I fucking bag on here. You know, because I'm like, fuck, I got to take this thing off. It's hard to fucking walk around outside with a fucking mask.
So,
but I mean, not like just out in the middle of fucking nowhere. I mean, on a busy street or whatever.
How is their rollout of the vaccine? I'm assuming good.
Yeah, I'm assuming good too. It seemed like it. I talked to a couple of like healthcare professionals out there, who seem really fucking savvy too. Like, I mean, it's I liked it out there. Yeah, I'm not even gonna get into that
because we surround
surround
ourselves with like smart friends. I often find myself being the stupidest person in the room.
That's the goal.
But did you pretty much feel that way the whole time?
No.
Oh, okay. You definitely found.
I mean, close. Fuck. I mean, there's a lot of smart people.
It does seem like
congregate in those high density population areas. You know, like you're gonna find a lot of smart people. But yeah, like we really do. Yeah, that's one thing. Like when I post shit on Facebook, when I'm talking shit, and I think people assume that I think that I'm so fucking smart, but I'm basically like a smart person groupie. You know,
right?
I'm trying to do my best to regurgitate what I like, some shit that like I learned from a fucking smart person, and I'm probably not going to do it justice. So like, I'm just going to punctuate it with "go fuck yourself," you know, and that's my fucking entire shtick.
There's a reason that I start almost every sentence was I was listening to a podcast, because if I wasn't, I would just have nothing in there, because I'm not that smart. So when I messaged you and said, man, like as soon as you get back from Boston, let's do the cast. I had something I really like kind of on the burner I really wanted to talk about. And I bet you that if I gave you 100 guesses, you wouldn't even come in the fucking neighborhood.
You're pregnant.
The NFL draft.
Get the fuck out of here.
Mm-hmm.
So the Vikings had a spectacular draft this year.
I don't care. But I am interested in the NFL draft, and the reason why is because I was listening to a podcast. But I'm such a novice to any sports that I don't even fucking understand what exactly we're talking about. Could you just explain to me what the NFL draft is?
So, college players, usually like big-time Division I schools, that's where your NFL players come from.
Right.
So every year, the guys that are ideally graduating, or some guys declare early or whatever, and like opt out their like sophomore year, junior year, whatever, they declare themselves eligible for the draft.
So you have this like pool of talent.
Yes.
Yep.
And then the teams, like based on their record.
So every ranked. Team.
Yes.
In the
there's 32 teams.
Yep.
In the NFL, and like the worst team picks first.
Right.
And all the way backwards down to whoever wins the Super Bowl picking at 32.
Right.
So that's like,
and that's your first round.
Each round, and then that's the first round. Then after that, because of like compensatory picks, which teams get for like losing certain players and stuff, in free agency, like the teams aren't like, not every round is 32. Has 32.
Right. But in essence, you have 32. You have 32
in the
teams,
first round, you have 32
and each team gets to pick one guy out of the pool. And
that's the idea. But you can trade those picks and stuff.
And you get and the shittier you were last year, the higher you are in the pick. But let's say I was the shittiest team last year and I'm number 1. I get the number 1 draft pick.
Yep.
Just because I picked that guy doesn't mean that guy has to, like, I still have to pay him.
Yes, but the best, like, here's the thing about the really money thing about the draft is, rookie contracts are small. So when you sign your rookie contract, now your first pick in the first round of the draft is going to have a bigger contract. But these are all like kind of set. These numbers are. So the rookie minimum is way smaller than the like league veteran minimum. So when these guys get done with their first credit, like you've got that guy locked up at a really good rate, at a really good price for like 3 or 4 years. I think it's 3 years. I think most rookie contracts are 3 years. So you've got the guy locked in for 3 years. So you're getting him at a really good rate for those 3 years. And then you've got to pay him based on his fucking value.
Or he gets to go somewhere else.
Yeah.
Now, so the reason that I'm interested in this is because I've been listening to this new podcast that I just stumbled across. And it's called, what the hell is it called? Revisionist History. Revisionist History by Malcolm Gladwell. And it's just a very interesting podcast, but he delved pretty deeply into some sports stuff. And one of the things that they were talking about was the NFL draft. And of course, these people are nerds, scientists, economists, mathematicians,
statisticians.
Statisticians,
There's a fucking million statisticians working
on the NFL draft, right? Right? Okay. So there was this organization that like basically was a bunch of statisticians, and they were taking a look at the NFL draft, and basically what they say, and they are correct. It's not actually like debatable because it's numbers. Because they have this, they can put all of these factors in. Like, okay, so if you have a first round draft pick and you pick this guy and you have to pay this much for him, blah 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 blah. Okay, you should trade away your first pick, always. Do you agree with that?
I do. I love trading down. The Vikings general manager,
yep,
Rick Spielman, is the fucking king of trading down, and we did it this year, and we scored fucking big time.
So you apparently, and again, I've never watched the NFL draft. I honestly didn't really know what it was. I actually kind of thought it might have been like the military draft, where you just got to like basically enslave people, for a set period of time. Not real enslavement, but just indentured servitude. And you had to pay them. So nothing actually at all like slavery.
Why do you hate the troops?
But I forgot. I lost where I was. That help me out. We're talking. I never watched the NFL draft. I remember, but I'm listening to this, and basically they're explaining that if you trade away your first round draft pick, you can typically get 6 second round draft picks, right? That's what they said. It's a 1 to 6. It's not always, but that's the average, because this is all like huge numbers that they put into it.
I think that you might have misunderstood something, or might have misunderstood that.
Sure that I was right.
There's a chart. There's a chart that these teams use to assess like the value of like if you've got the Vikings had the 14th pick in the first round this year. Now they traded it back for 2 good third round picks. So like, and second round picks are still pretty valuable. So it wouldn't be you'd never get 6. And besides, once you reach a certain number of picks, like we had 15 draft picks at one point, that was a couple of years ago, and once you pick so many guys, well, you've already got you've only got so many roster spots, so you start drafting guys that aren't gonna fucking make the team, you're drafting to fill your roster, but it's not like you're not actually gonna play. You have no intention of playing them. Yeah.
Well, I might be wrong on my numbers, but
if it was like the very first pick overall,
yeah, I think that's what they meant.
That might
number
be
1 first round draft. So if you were the shittiest, so the scenario was I'm the shittiest team in the world, and I have the number 1 first round draft pick, I could trade that for 6 second round draft picks.
That could conceivably be.
And if that were the case, I would be mad to take my first round draft pick.
Yeah,
because 6 second round draft picks are worth exponentially
Unless
more.
you've got like a really lazy scouting, like, because every team has a shitload of scouts working for them.
But the fact of the matter is that scouting is not a very good predictor of success. It's not. Statistically, it's not.
I mean, some
They
teams
think it is.
are good at it, some teams are bad at it.
Right. The truth is, though, is that when you are evaluating players, you're basically evaluating somebody playing outside of what they're because you got a college ball player, right?
You know what? A couple of the most telling statistics that they keep track of, like, are in the NFL for a lot of different positions: arm length and hand size.
Oh, yeah, that makes
Those
sense.
are
Those
two
are
of the
two. You know, well, I mean, and we're probably going to go there, but in baseball, one of the most tracked statistics is how fast they run. Right, that's the very first thing that scouts want to see is how fast people run, and it makes absolutely no difference on how well they do.
Yeah, 40 times are like taken without pads on, and they're not in game situations. But everybody wants to know like what your 40 is anyway, and it's
Right.
just.
But it actually just like it can matter, but it doesn't matter. Like it can be a factor, but it's not. You're taking a snapshot, and what you need is a scenery picture.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Well, that's why like you can you can fall in love with a guy's measurables, but you need to watch.
you know what I'm saying.
Say no more. You need to watch film on him. You need to watch film on him, and you need to consider the level of competition and stuff like that.
Right. And really, you need to do the math. That's really what it boils down to. And like, I don't know. Okay, so that was number one. Trade down. Right? Rule number one. And rule number two is trade tomorrow for today. So if you can trade away, because I guess you can, and I had no idea about this.
Future picks.
You can
yeah.
trade away your pick today for a pick next year or whatever. And apparently, NFL teams are loath to do this. I mean, it happens, but it's not something that people like to. And it's actually something that fans fucking hate it when people do.
Yeah.
Right?
It is a loathsome practice.
Do you know how much interest you pay on your pick today versus picking up to next year? 137% interest over a year.
How do they figure interest?
I fucking have no idea. These are scientists. Like seriously, like I can't. How the fuck? I can hardly make change for $100 bill. Like it drives me nuts at the bar. But they do, right? So they figure out what the value.
Just say thank you.
Yeah, no change. What the value you're paying today. Yeah, you're going to pay 137% interest on that if you were to forego it for tomorrow, which is basically the best fucking deal you could ever get, is to like trade your pick today for a pick next year. And it's interesting because most of the people who own football teams are fucking loaded, right? And most people who are loaded understand money. And yet most owners have this ridiculous irrationality when it comes
There's a strong
to,
win now mentality, though.
There is. Well, win now, that, yeah. But the thing is if you, right, there's a strong win now mentality.
And especially when you talk about coaches,
bad-
because coaches are always on the hot seat. You know,
Well,
like,
right, coaches and owners and
and
everybody.
GMs and shit. You know,
And
like,
what we're really talking about is how when you have pressures, right, you are apt to make decisions that are actually not in your best interest. Because it is far better for you as a team to be like, okay, you know what? Fuck it. We'll get the best guy next year and we'll forego it this year because that's going to be a better deal for us. It's going to be cheaper.
You're also gambling on, like you've got a, well, sometimes it's not really a gamble. But if you trade away, like, okay, I'm going to give you we've got like pick 15 in the first round. We're going to trade that to you for your first round next year. Okay, at this point, we don't know what that is. If your team is garbage, we can guess it's going to be a high pick. sometimes teams surprise you both ways, like, so when you trade off that pick, you don't know what
you're not guaranteed. No.
Yeah.
But because
you can just root against them all
they're
year.
Economists, they can put an equation in that figures out what they like. An economist cannot look at that, make a model that can tell you what's going to happen with that one person. It's impossible. But they can put in all of those numbers and tell you what's going to happen on average for all of those things. So they can that's how they make those, decisions or whatever they are. But I just thought that was super interesting how even though it is, even to somebody who's like into football and into the NFL draft, like, you agree, like, you should trade down, and
sure,
and maybe trade later.
But I see why but I understand why that's
it rarely happens. It's like pulling teeth. I mean, not to say that rarely, because maybe I guess you said Minnesota was good at it. But according to it doesn't happen the way as nearly as often as it should happen. And if they were to follow these rules, it would make really whatever. I really want to watch the NFL draft next year.
Well,
or is it still going on?
You can watch it with me and Munster Tiger.
It happened. It's already done, right?
Yeah.
Because I've never had any interest in it before. I actually thought it would be the most mind-numbingly boring
It's always
thing
like
I've ever.
very end of April, very beginning of May, like right in there.
Well, I am very interested in watching it because I want to see how this works now, because I've spent so much time in this world, and I thought it was very interesting.
I spend from the time that the regular season, the NFL's regular season ends, I'm consumed by the draft right up until till May 1st or right in there, whenever the draft actually happens.
How long is this fucking thing?
Well, it's 3 days.
Holy fucking shit! I don't know how interested I am in watching.
Well, the first
I was
round,
in a couple hours.
Everybody's really excited about the first round. The first round is the one that is on prime time, on Thursday night.
Mm-hmm.
That's where we went.
And they were and it's a spec.
Me and Munster Tiger went to 9th Street and hung out with Rob.
And it's a big it's all televised, and people are really And in baseball, apparently, it's all done behind closed doors, secret, and which is interesting. But yeah,
baseball sucks.
Well, we're gonna talk about it next. So.
So day one, the first round is that night, and each team gets 15 minutes for fucking or whatever. Okay, maybe it's 5, whatever. I don't even remember how many minutes it is. Each team gets X amount of minutes to wheel and deal. Maybe trade their pick, whatever. See who's on the board. Everybody's got their rankings done ahead of time and shit, so they know where they're willing to draft these different guys and the guys that they really want. So first round.
But the player
Thursday
that they
night.
draft doesn't have any choice in whether or not they take the contract.
So
because that's definitely not true.
You've got
baseball.
guys like John Elway and shit. There have been historically some guys that are fuck you, I'm not going.
Yeah, because I know in baseball, but they didn't cover this in the football thing. But if you pick somebody in baseball, then they have to agree to it, and they can be I want $2 million, and you could be fuck you, and then you don't get that. They can then just not play baseball. You know what I mean? They have to take the year off, and the next year they get up for the draft. But you can and I guess that happens fairly often in baseball. But
yeah, I think in the NFL, if you declined to play for the team that drafted you, you'd just be out that year. You wouldn't.
That's the same it is in baseball. Nobody else gets to draft you. You're just out.
Yeah, I mean, as far as I know, that hasn't happened in recent history, to my knowledge.
I guess it happens in baseball fairly often, especially when people think that they're really hot shit, and actually it's in their best interest to do it.
Well, that's probably the difference there, because baseball's full of egomaniacs.
But then again, we are talking about,
and in the NFL, and in football, everybody's really humble.
Yeah, right. But it is true that they are paid. Sometimes, people that are drafted in baseball will sign like these huge contracts, multi-million-dollar contracts, which isn't necessarily is very uncommon in football. Am I right? Out of the gate, you know what I mean? Like,
I think no. Every contract. I don't know what the rookie minimum is. I think the veteran minimum is like $600,000
minimum,
right
but
there.
like that's the minimum. But if you get, let's say, I was the worst team last year, and I am draft number 1, and I want, Joe Shit the Ragman, who, played for Ohio State, and he's like the fucking bomb diggity, and I choose him, but he wants, who sets the price? He does?
The market. But I mean, like their agents negotiate that shit.
So
out,
then
but
agent negotiates it.
Yeah.
Up. But the price tag going in, right?
I mean, there's a precedent. Every time somebody gets like a fucking earth-shattering new contract at their position, then that just kind of fucks everything for everybody. Everything gets this whole scale gets the whole scale is like readjusted. Because dipshit got this and that's what I want and blah blah blah, and then I got then it's about like whether the agent can like look at that guy's performance and shit and back it up and say, well, he's as good as dipshit, like he wants the same kind of money.
So when you're,
but I mean, like I think the best money in the world of professional sports is in football because of how many games you play. They just moved to a 17 game schedule. Baseball, you play a fucking ungodly number of games. NBA, those guys play a fucking million games. Football, they play 17 games. Are you
saying, what are you saying? Like for the player, it's the best money for the... Yeah, except you also...
Per game.
You also are fucked, so...
What's the most? I mean, you mean like health wise, like injury wise and stuff? Yeah. It's a very manly sport compared to baseball and hockey.
The likelihood,
much more manly than hockey.
The likelihood of getting
everything.
CTE,
figure skating is manly compared to hockey.
Well, we're gonna have to talk about hockey because I have a very interesting thing about that. But the likelihood of getting CTE as a professional football player, it's that in boxing. And I guess soccer's pretty bad. They get hit. They get hit in the head a lot.
If you're gonna slobber all the way through your day, you might as well be a millionaire when you do it.
That's true. I know it's early, but I really gotta pee, so we gotta take a quick break.
Actually, I have to pee too.
We'll be right back.
We pee.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Spitballing. I'm Matt Taylor here with my good buddy
Kyle Amundsen.
All right, so we were talking a little bit about sports, and I really didn't want to talk that much about the NFL draft, but I just thought that was interesting. But oddly enough, what I really want to talk about is basketball. And I know you're not a huge basketball fan, but
I actually really enjoy basketball.
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
Oh,
I don't watch as much anymore, probably because the Timberwolves and the Gophers both suck. But I do. I used to watch a lot of basketball. I used to play a lot of basketball. Which, if you look at me, you probably...
I would guess, obviously.
I'm a natural basketball player.
But you did... Yeah, but you used to be, 7 foot, and then you got hit in the head a whole bunch?
Shrunk down? Well, my neck got fat, and the fatter my neck got, the shorter it got. I used to look like a fucking giraffe. Now more like a goddamn frog. But, no, I used to play a lot of basketball, like, for fun, pickup games and shit like that. We'd go play basketball after lifting and stuff, and I loved basketball. I was never any good at basketball, but there were a few things that I could do. My shot was ugly. I can't jump. I'm not very fast, and I cannot dribble. But I could play defense. I could box out.
You were super valuable to the team.
Actually, I was a good supporting cast type guy with the boxing out. And, so I could jump a little. I had a decent vertical when I was in college. So like I could snag some rebounds. I even blocked a few shots here and there, anticipating and stuff. So I played, and I played good defense. I always liked to take on point guards and little fast guys and shit, like out on the perimeter and stuff, and like show off my good lateral speed and stuff. But but no, I wasn't a good basketball player. I just really loved basketball because it was super fun.
Well, are you any good at shooting free throws?
No, not really.
No?
No.
You know what? Most nobody is.
Really?
And that's actually what I wanted to talk about. Do you know who Will Chamberlain is?
Absolutely.
I had no idea. Actually, if you would have asked me beforehand, I wouldn't even have been able to tell you he was a basketball player, but I definitely would have been able to tell you he was the guy who like slept with like 20,000 people.
Dude, Will Chamberlain was Boombada on Conan 2. Conan the Destroyer?
Never. There was no such thing.
You're right. That's fair.
He apparently like claims he slept with like 20,000
Yeah,
women.
and
or
when you
something
break
like
down
that.
the numbers, it's impossible.
It might be impossible.
Yeah.
But like most of his critics are like, yeah, he's probably exaggerating. I would say no more than 8 to 10,000.
Right.
It's
So
still
basically he had no
a ridiculously high number.
He barely got laid.
But I had never heard this before, but apparently Will Chamberlain holds the record for the most number of points scored in a game.
Yes.
It's like 100
100
or
something,
something.
yeah.
And he, during that game, made 28 out of 32 free throws, which is fucking crazy, right? That's like a remarkable amount of free throws.
Well, when you can reach the basket from the free throw line, I mean.
Actually...
no, it is impressive. It's
Actually, Will Chamberlain is horrible at the shooting free throws. I don't think I wrote it down. Oh yeah, he usually shoots about 40%. That's his normal, but in that game he shot 85%. Can you tell me why?
Why did he shoot?
Why did he go from 40% to whatever 89% or whatever it would be?
I don't know. Did he shoot him granny style?
Exactly. He shot in that game where he holds the record for the most number of points scored in a game. He threw, 28 out of 32. He shot 32 free throws, and out of them he made 28 of them, and he threw them granny style. Right? That is fucking amazing. And then he never threw granny style again, and continued to suck at free throws. That's insane, right? That's fucking insane. The best free throw player of all time. Do you have any idea who that is?
Man, I don't know. John Stockton? I don't know.
Ricky Berry. Have you ever heard that guy's name?
It sounds familiar, but I don't know who he is.
Very, obscure player. But he was...
Wait, Ricky Berry, was that the 90s?
Yeah, the 90s. Yep. Oh, like a long time. I mean, he knew Will Chamberlain, and like he worked with Shaq for a while to try to get Shaq to throw granny style. And Shaq was like, I would rather make 0 free throws than throw granny style, right? But it makes no sense. But Ricky Berry exclusively threw granny style, and he is
not to be confused with Ricky Bobby.
No, I don't think. But he was like 98% on free throws, right? I mean, basically, he fucking couldn't miss, and he threw granny style.
I don't realize how loud that thing is until
yes, I know, and I think I turned it the other way. But that's fucking crazy that you can up your game that much by changing the way that you throw. And this is pretty much universal. Like any athlete, any professional basketball player could fairly easily change their style of throwing free throws and up their percentage drastically, and nobody will do it. The only person in the what is it even called? It's not NFL. It's
NBA.
NBA is Ricky Berry's kid. He's the only one who throws granny style. And the reason, I'm just guessing here, is because they don't want to look like a douchebag. Right? Right. I mean, what is the other reason?
No, that would be it.
That's the only reason, right?
Yeah.
And that, to me, is fucking insane. Why would you not want to up your fucking value that much just because you, look a little different?
But some guys are really good free throw shooters.
Even the best ones aren't even close to 98%. I mean, if you're 60% free thrower, you're considered a really good free thrower.
But do you think those guys would like just jump in at like 98%?
Yes.
I don't know.
No. They would probably be in the upper 80%, like Will Chamberlain was, a guy who showed up to that game, hung over, and just was like, felt like shit, and threw fucking granny throws and made 28 out of 32 free throws. And the thing is, and I don't know shit about basketball, but apparently somebody like Shaq, who is notoriously bad at free throws, I guess, like makes it so that you can foul him, right? Because he's so good.
It was called the Hack a Shaq defense.
Yeah, Hack a Shaq. Yeah.
Teams would activate like scrub centers. Just because, so you could throw more centers the position.
Sure.
So they would activate more big men.
That's the guy
so
who
they could
hikes,
hack him.
The guy who hikes the basketball.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I knew that. Yeah.
So they'd have extra centers on the roster that night. They would dress extra centers so those guys could just hack Shaq and
foul him.
Yeah.
And then know that he only has about a 10% chance of making his fucking free throw.
Yep.
Right? But now if Shaq went up to an 80% free thrower, right? You
would
couldn't
no longer
foul
be able
him
to do
anymore.
that to him.
And all he needs to do is stop using one hand and start using two. And I was
It's an ego thing.
It's an ego thing. And I get it, man. We're talking about superstars. We're talking about rock stars. But I actually don't get it. I find that fucking infuriating. Because why would you not use the technique that is most effective to get that fucking ball in that fucking hoop? That's the only reason you're playing.
Right? And if you're like, you're that worried, if you're that fucking worried about being cool, like looking cool, you probably wouldn't be in all those shitty movies.
What, are we talking about Shaq?
Yeah.
I don't know. So
he's in some shit movies.
I just found that incredibly ridiculous, and I think it, like, we're talking about basketball here, but we're really just talking about all of it. We so often like put ourselves in positions that are like counter to our well-being, to our own good, because of whatever social pressure there is to do it. The easiest example I can think of is like poor people who vote for Republicans. I mean, I can't think of it. I can't like, but that like is what pops into my head
because they feel like that's the badass thing to do.
Right. Like, well, I like to say it nicely. I think that they are like succumbing to the social pressure, but it is like completely counter in most parts to their own financial like well-being, as well as in
voting against their own interests. Fucking
voting against your own. But that's what I feel like Shaq is doing when he doesn't fucking throw granny throw, is he's voting against his own best interest. I mean, he's spending social capital to not look dumb, and I find that like really kind of appalling. So fuck you, Shaq. Do your job. Is he still playing basketball?
Oh God, no. He's been done for a decade.
But Magic Johnson, like, he does.
Well, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So I it just fucking blew my mind. That just blew my mind that the record holder of the most points scored in a basketball game, 100 points, fucking threw granny throws. And that just blows my fucking mind.
I like it.
And then stopped throwing granny throws. And then lastly, the last sporty like thing that I wanted to talk about.
This is the hockey one?
This is the hockey one. So listening to this podcast, which I really, really liked, again, it was called Revisionist History by Malcolm Gladwell. He was talking about how people have been putting out their rules to life. And Jordan B. Peterson has a book called 12 Rules to Life. And I read it. It's great. I like Jordan B. Peterson. I know some people don't, but I don't give a fuck what you think. I really like the guy. But he, and I don't know if you don't know who he is, he's a...
smug prick.
he's a
No, he is pretty brilliant.
he's a
Yeah.
Canadian.
Oh, that's right. He's Canadian. Smug prick.
Yeah, well, so is Malcolm Gladwell actually, but he's a Canadian professor who kind of got famous because he like refused to call people by their preferred
pronouns and shit.
if those preferred pronouns were not actual.
He's got
like,
great takes
he
on
wouldn't
stuff.
go-
He's a brilliant man. I really
Like-
I have appreciated a lot of his stuff. Now, not everything. Some of his shit, I'm just like, ugh, nah, fuck that.
That
But-
doesn't
but
mean
overall,
he wouldn't. That doesn't
I
mean
love
like
his
if
shit.
there was somebody who transitioned from male to female, he wouldn't say
Yeah.
she, her. He just wouldn't say they, them, or ZZ. He was like, that's fucking ridiculous. But why he stopped doing it, and I mean, you look up for yourself because I don't want to speak for Jordan Peterson, but he, they passed a law that said he had to use them, and he was like, no, I will not be told how to speak. And so that kind of like launched him into fame. But he's actually a fucking super brilliant guy, and I really enjoy him. But he wrote a book called 12 Rules to Life, where he pretty much goes through 12 rules of the 12 rules that he thinks you should follow in life. And the very first one, I think, is clean your room, and which is like, it sounds like a simple thing, but he like explains why that's so important. And essentially, it's it's the same thing. Like if your house isn't in order, could you ever expect anybody else's house to be in order? Like pick up your own fucking shit before you start. And I really enjoyed it. So Malcolm Gladwell, who I also really enjoy, was like, well, everybody's doing these 12 rules to life. I should do 12 rules to life. And then he's like, fuck, I don't have 12 rules. Like, I can't come up with 12. I can't come up with, wait, I really only have one rule to life. Pull the goalie. And then he goes in and explains what that means.
fucking God, I hate Canadians so much.
I know Canadians, but let's pretend it's actually Quidditch, okay, or some other sport. The thing is, and I again hardly know anything about hockey. I actually don't know how many periods there are. 3?
Yeah.
3
yeah.
periods? Okay. So in the last period, typically, if a team is down by 1 or even 2 points, they'll pull their goalie, which means they'll take their goalie off the ice and they'll put an offensive player in so that they have more offensive players, so that they have a higher likelihood of getting a goal, right? But they also have a higher likelihood of giving up a goal because they don't have a fucking goalie, right? Now, most teams pull the goalie if they're down by a point or 2 even. There's really no differentiation, actually. They'll do it with about a minute and a half left. That's about the soonest they'll pull the goalie. And that's when they're literally saying, we have no chance of winning without like going for the gusto, right? And here's the kind of the weird,
Yeah, just that's when they say fuck it, and they're not worried about getting scored on.
right? Because
Girls in my high school pull the goalie a lot.
because what does it matter, right? If you're gonna lose, you're gonna lose, and it is not like you if I'm one team and you're the other team, and you're beating me by 2 points, and I pull my goalie, and you kick the shit out of me, and you beat me by 10 points. Guess how many points you get for winning the game? 1 fucking point. Okay, so it's a W, or a loss, or a tie. If they tie, actually don't know.
I don't even know that shit.
I know there
Fuck
is some
fucking-
kind. I think
fuck
they
hockey.
can tie because there is some really crazy like shootout thing that I've always wanted to see in a live game, and it's never come up. I watch like maybe
Where's Rob when we need him?
I watch like maybe 4 hockey games, or I watch hockey whenever it's on at the bar. And watch, I mean, like I catch it here and there, but
You don't avert your eyes
yeah.
like you would if it was a football game.
Oh, I mean, well, whatever. But I've actually enjoyed hockey a little bit more than I thought that I would. But
It's because you meet such cool people. that
yeah,
come
all
into
these
us,
hockey
yeah.
players. Yeah, they always like. But the thing is that these fucking mathematicians, scientists, fucking guys, they got together and they were like, let's crunch the numbers. When should you pull the goalie? right? Like,
Yeah, does it ever work?
statistically. Oh, well, like, it doesn't, like, okay, well, this is what they said. If you are down by 1 goal in the last period, you should pull your goalie with, give me a guess, how early? Or how much time left?
4 minutes.
5 minutes and 40 seconds. Not bad. So that's exactly, you should pull your goalie at exactly 5 minutes and 40 seconds left if you're down by 1 point. That's unheard of, but that's what you should do. If you're down by 2 points, guess how long?
Like at the beginning of the fucking
11 minutes and 40 seconds. I actually don't know how long a period is, but 11 minutes and 40 seconds. If you're down by 3, you shouldn't even put a goalie in the last period. And no matter what happens, you never put a goalie back in. No matter, they could score 50 points on you, and you just never put a goalie back in because it's a loss. It doesn't matter if you lose by 1 or you lose by 10, right?
Your fucking goalie's in the shower.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. So what the rule of pull the goalie means is it means play to win. Play to win. Not at any cost, right? But just don't let the idea of losing badly stop you from playing to win. Because there's no difference between losing and losing badly.
Fucking come on. Throw that roundhouse kick.
Well,
roundhouse everybody.
Right.
Just come open up with a roundhouse kick.
I was trying to think about it because I know so little about sports. I was trying to think about it in the terms of fighting, and I can't. There's only a couple of things I could think of. One of them was John Jones. When John the Bones Jones, when he first hit the scene in the UFC.
With a spinning back fist?
Yeah. Flying knee, spinning back fist. Like, he came out of the gate. He came out of the gate.
Guns blazing, man. That's
Right.
what that guns blazing, that whole fucking...
And he was fighting to win. Now, it's really easy to fight. Well, I don't think it's ever easy to fight to win like that. But he was coming up. And it's easier to be like... So what happens if you go out there against fucking... who was it? Lyoto Machida that he came out and he like did a spinning back fist like right off the bat, a spinning back fist to a side kick right off the bat or something like that. And it was like, nobody's ever, that's just fucking a crazy opening salvo. But if he got knocked out, he was fighting Lyoto Machida. It didn't matter. You know what I mean? That was the champ. So you're kind of safe fighting up. Well, John Jones is kind of crazy anyway, so maybe he's one to put on the side. Another person that I can really think of is George St. Pierre. Like, George St. Pierre, like, got to the champion, became the welterweight champion, and once he was there, he was no longer fun to watch to fight. No longer fun to watch fighting.
You see that happen in fucking football too, like teams that are trying to protect. In football, you see it all the time with teams that are trying to protect a lead by being by playing so conservatively,
right?
Like I had an old coach that he's like, yeah, prevent defense, prevent you from winning. Like prevent defense is fucking like playing back, like letting everything happen and like letting everything happen, giving up all this shit in front of you, as long as like nothing over your head, just trying to minimize, hold them to small plays, but you put enough small plays together and fucking now you're fucked. But that's like playing too conservative, like nursing that, trying to protect that win is like a strategy that a lot of football fans fucking just abhor.
Well, it's really boring in fights. And because if you're a super talented fighter, you can fight not to lose. But
well, and it's usually, and it's guys that can do better. Like, remember that, who was that fucking grappler that, I can't think of his, Tony lost to him. But then the guy finished his next fight, finished his fight.
I know, it's right on the tip of my tongue too. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I mean, he's kind of a legend.
Yeah.
I don't remember.
But just fucking most boring fight ever.
Can be, yeah.
And then his next fight,
that was
finished his guy.
And that was the one where he was holding Tony down in in a leg mount triangle, and I got really pissed off about it because people were all upset that they stood it up, and I felt like they let it go on for way too long because you never stand somebody up and mount. It was a mount. It wasn't even close to mount. That's a defensive top position. You can't attack from it. There's 0 attack, so you are like literally stalling on top, and it's like okay, like that's a totally justified stand up. I don't know. I thought that was really interesting. One just other little tidbit that they put out there that I thought was very interesting is that in football, you basically should always go for it on fourth.
What?
Mm-hmm. Now, that is a nuanced position, right? There are times when you shouldn't, but if you look at their like, they can tell you exactly when those times are, right? If you look at their like modeling, right? But rule of thumb, you go for it.
See,
you
I
almost
think
never give up. You almost never willingly give up the ball.
I'll tell you how their data is faulty on that fourth down thing.
Well, it's not.
It is.
It's not actually.
It's because what they're measuring is the fourth downs that are actually made. Now, those fourth downs work because you've got just a couple of you've just got a couple of fourth down plays that you use just in case,
So they're using computer modeling. So they're taking the entire like database, and then it like runs these models over and over again.
But the data that they're using is for like the fourth downs that I guarantee the more in football you go for it on fourth down. If everybody just started going for it on fourth down,
actually,
the number of the rate of success would go down.
Actually, kind of the part of why this it actually works best if you're the only one that goes for it on fourth down. And it's the same way with doing free throws, and it's the same of granting free throws, and it's the same way of doing like now if other people do it too, whatever, it's going to rise the whole thing. But if you're really being the one who takes the granny throw, being the one who pulls the goalie, being the one who goes for it on fourth every fucking time, that's the key. So that's the rule of life. That's what I think. And I after listening, and I mean, this wasn't like one podcast. This was a whole series. Which also led me into Moneyball, which is an amazing fucking book. But oh my god, it broke my brain. It's super hard to understand. It's all math. Do you guys do you know about Moneyball? If you ever Moneyball? It was a movie. Brad Pitt. Good movie. It's basically how science broke baseball. Back in the 90s. There's really nothing. I thought Moneyball. How about what's the other one? The Big Short, or The Long Short. Jesus Christ, both of these are fucking great movies. Is it The Big Short?
But what sport are they about?
No, The Big Short's about the 2008 financial crisis.
Oh yeah, no.
And it's great. It's got fucking Batman in it, and Batman. I am Batman. That Batman?
Oh,
Christian Bale.
Yeah.
And then it's a fucking fantastic movie. Well, anyway, it's about the financial crisis, and so is the Moneyball. It has Brad Pitt, and it's about a guy. It's about a guy who basically uses statistics to change baseball. He's the general manager of the Oakland Athletics, and literally change it. I could be zero interest in baseball, but it's super interesting. Like that, you can, because when you're a team like the Oakland Athletics, you have a small budget, period, and you can't. And like the Yankees can outspend you 10-1. Well, how do you compete then? How do you compete in that field? Like, and the common belief at the time was that you can't. Like, you just simply can't compete. But that's just bullshit. You just have to be able to see the value in the undervalued, right? And if you can see the value in the undervalued, well, then it's easy to compete. But the trick is seeing the value in the undervalued. And the only way to do that is to understand what value really is. Super interesting, sir. But, yeah.
I've not seen either of those movies, but I can sing you the whole soundtrack to Moana if you'd like.
To what?
Moana.
I don't know what that is.
Oh.
Michael Lewis.
It's also a really good movie.
Michael Lewis is the guy who wrote Moneyball, and he also does a podcast called Against the Rules. really interesting about like the first season is all about referees, and then the second season is all about coaches, and it's really good. I fucking cried in the second season. And speaking of coaches, one last sports thing. Fucking Ted Lasso.
I told you.
Seriously, I can't tell you how many times in this episode I have said I don't give two shits about a sport, and I don't give two shits about a sport. And Ted Lasso is a TV show that's on Apple Plus, and it's about an American football coach, not even halfway there.
Not close. Should have grannied that.
You should have. I was just gonna.
Totally.
Just gonna say that. That's why it doesn't. That's why, because there's so much mechanics in throwing that way. But with two, there's it. Okay. Anyway, it's about a guy who's an American football coach
and not even a premier one from like the D2 ranks.
Yeah, he's like and he kind of gets a little internet famous because his team wins, and then he does this funny dance on YouTube, and he's kind of a joke.
Yeah, he's a big fun locker room guy, and
and they send him, and he gets picked up to coach a soccer team that's kind of on the brink of failure in England, and he doesn't know anything about soccer. And both Meta and I fucking adored it. It's
a spectacular show. I am so glad I watched it. We're going to watch it again.
Matt and I are too. We're going to watch it again, and hopefully the next season comes out very, very soon.
It's super funny.
The only complaint I had about it was that it was just too goddamn short.
Yeah.
But it was like the most heartwarming, genuine,
heartwarming without being corny in the least.
And it's like, how was it not corny? It should have been so corny.
Yeah. It should have been cringy corny because it was so fucking feel good. But it was fucking hilarious.
So good. Yep.
Jamie Tart Jamie Tart
So if you haven't watched Ted Lasso, you really should do it. If you don't have Apple Plus, you could just fucking get it for a week, and I'm telling you, if you don't watch Ted Lasso in that free week, you just don't get it because there's zero chance.
It's not going to take you a while to watch Ted Lasso.
There's only 10 episodes or something. They're only half an hour apiece, and I'm like, if Meta didn't have to wake up in the morning, we would have watched them all the first night.
Dude, the older guy, the team captain, I
love him.
Probably my favorite character. He's so fucking brilliant.
I know you didn't like Derek. Or maybe you didn't even try Derek, but it's Ricky Gervais.
I've not watched that yet.
I love it. One of my top picks on Netflix. It's about a guy who has special needs, who works in a nursing home. So it's like he's not in the nursing home. He works it's very cute, very adorable. But he's one of the main characters in there.
No.
Yeah, and it took me I was like, God, I fucking know that guy. And then it finally occurred to me who he was. But yeah,
Ted Lasso. I watch a lot of TV. I've watched a lot of stuff, movies, television, porn, whatever. But Ted Lasso is probably the best thing that I've watched in the last year, at least. It was fucking amazing.
Yeah, I don't want to use another soccer analogy, but they knocked it out of the park. It was fantastic. There's one and it's in the preview for it or whatever, but he's like the ref's like offsides, and he goes runs up on the ref and, how the hell could that be offsides? And the ref goes, what are you talking about? He goes, no, I'm serious. I have no idea. How could it be offsides? It was and I don't even think we're doing a good job selling it, because it's doesn't you shouldn't know the premise of it, because that premise isn't that great.
Yeah, and don't take our word for it. Just if you know anybody that's seen it, just ask them. because you're not going to find anybody that's like, meh.
If you found anybody that's like that, they're a sociopath, and just get them out of your life.
You don't need that kind of negativity in your life.
Yeah.
Because everybody that I know that's watched that fucking show is crazy about it.
And I wish that everybody had, because there's some specific stuff. I just really like to talk about specific episodes and how like
we'll do a Ted
great
Lasso
they were.
podcast after we rewatch it.
We should. Let's do a Ted Lasso podcast, like, or at least like where it's like, if you haven't watched Ted Lasso, don't watch this podcast.
Yes.
And so we can talk about some
Spoiler
very
alert.
specific stuff. Because did you ever get around to Resident Alien?
I'm about halfway through the first season.
Oh, okay.
I enjoy it a lot.
Okay,
I like that.
Good. Yeah, I can't think of any of the other ones that we.
No, that one surprised me. Like that, I didn't. That's not what I thought it was going to be.
Did it kill you?
And it's a lot like more adult than I thought it was going to be.
Super
too.
adult.
It's fucking great.
I like,
Not Ted Lasso great, but really, but funny.
So we, Amanda and I, watched Resident Alien, and we loved it. We thought it was fucking great. And then I was like, let's give that fucking Ted Lasso a try. And because Kyle and Christine just both recommended it super, super high, and I was like, so I got the Apple TV back, and then we were like, fuck Resident Alien. I mean, still a wonderful show, but this was really good. This was really, really good.
His assistant coach is fucking great too.
Great.
And the shit that they
Coach
do back
Beard.
and forth, the little fucking like.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, if you haven't
watch
seen
the
it,
show, watch the fucking. Do yourself a favor.
truly do yourself a favor. Any other TV shit going on with you? I'm kind of at a loss right now, to be honest.
I don't think so. I finished.
I tried Peaky Blinders. I got like a season into it. And I'm like, oh, I do have one. Jack Ryan. Have you ever watched that?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I don't know how I fucking missed that. It's wonderful.
It's pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, really, really pretty good.
I watched Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Fucking in the Winter Soldier.
Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Oh. I don't know what that is.
Yeah, it's a Marvel. It's an MCU series.
Okay.
Because like
yeah.
like WandaVision, like fucking sucked. Falcon and the Winter Soldier was just okay. I was really looking forward to it, but
yeah, I pretty much don't do any superhero shit unless somebody says like, "Oh my god, you totally gotta check this out." I did like Invincible. Is that what it's called?
yeah, that was really
So
good.
that was a fun one. So we have like this little group chat with the geeks.
Yeah.
And Sam Gibbons says, Jesus Christ, check out Invincible. This is great. And I was like, oh, okay, well, I recommend. And then I see it, and it's a fucking cartoon. And I was like, oh.
Yeah,
I'm
superhero
not a
cartoon.
Huge fan of cartoons. I mean, I can watch them, but I'm not a huge fan. So I was like, okay, well, fuck it, I'll give it a try. And I'm watching it, and I'm like, what the fuck is Sam talking about? This is kind of a shitty run-of-the-mill. Holy fucking shit.
Right. Oh, you're talking about like towards the end of episode 1. Yeah.
I was like going to write back and be like, Sam, what the fuck are you talking about? And then I'm like, oh, I get it.
Yeah. And from then on, it just kind of takes the.
There's some darkness. I mean, it was kind of boys-ish. The Boys.
Yeah. A lot. Yeah, very much so. What's going on with that? There's a new Star Wars show on Disney or whatever.
Is it out?
I believe it is.
Oh, I haven't checked it out yet.
Oh, okay.
But I don't know exactly what's going on because I know that they are putting out an Ahsoka Tano, like one.
That's a live action one.
Live action one, yeah, with Beauty, what's her name? Dawson Rose.
Yeah, no, I can't. Oh, Rosario Dawson.
Yeah, I was close. Rawson Dawson, it's close. And then they're doing an Obi-Wan Kenobi one with Ewan McGregor, set after Revenge of the Sith, like so in that 20 years. And then
I just started watching Men Who Stare at Goats again, and that fucking movie's great.
That you really should read the book Chaos. God, you really should. That should be the next one that you read, like you listen to, is Chaos. I'll even give it to you because I've listened to it 4 times.
4 times.
Yeah.
Damn.
Because it's like pretty dense, but it's so good. But it's about Charles Manson, but that's like when I saying it's about Marilyn Manson is like, is saying
Charles
like,
Manson.
or Charles Manson, right? Or Marilyn,
Well,
is saying like,
any Mansons.
The ocean's about fish. I mean, like it's deep. There's a lot of shit going on in there. You know what I mean? But it gets into the whole Ministeric Goats program and all of that, and it's all tied. But it's all true, 100% true, 100% verifiable. Like there's the documents. It's very, very good. Yeah. What were I forgot? Ministeric Goats.
Yeah, Star Wars shows.
Oh, and then the last one is just that the season 3 of The Mandalorian should be coming out, and that is but that is following the storyline of Boba Fett, which I think will be very interesting.
Played by Tamora Morrison, the greatest New Zealander actor in the
Yeah, it was a good one. Like he was a good fit for Boba Fett. Okay, and then, do you have anything else? I have a last thing I really got to talk about.
I'm
burning
done.
desire. I got a burning. Desire.
Actually, I haven't had any. I
know.
I didn't have
the
I didn't
whole
prepare
time
anything.
you were on vacation, and the whole time I was just like, "Oh my god, I can't wait to spitball about this." So, all right. Well, since the last time we talked,
I do have one.
The George Floyd verdict came back. Okay, what do you have?
I didn't write down the girl's name. So, you know what? I can look it up, or I can save it for next time too, because it's already old news. It was the knife wielding girl that got shot, and everybody was like all hot over that.
Yeah, and it was the Justified.
Yeah, man. So, and what was it? Was it Columbus, Ohio? But I don't remember her name, which is too bad because I spent a lot of time thinking about it. But long story short, there's a fight broke out or whatever at this birthday party or whatever. So 911 was called. This officer gets out of the car, and if you watch the fucking video, now I think it was MSC or was it MSNBC? The first news agency that I saw report on it, edited the video in such a way
that it made it look like he
which
right.
Fuck them.
Right.
That's shit. That's clearly you just trying to fucking stir shit up and fucking and sensationalize
right.
This fucking horrible event and just be general pieces of shit, and you should fucking go off the air. The second video I see it was like from his from his
body cam,
and he gets out of the car, and within 10 seconds this fucking fight spills out onto the lawn. Like all the action's coming right at him. There's fucking like two separate little fights going on. You've got the two girls over here. You've got a dude kicking this girl on the ground and shit. All this shit's going on. And within 10 seconds, the one girl is like you see her from behind, pulls back, and is like starting, gets to the apex of that motion, and is starting to come back down with the knife, and he shoots her. He shoots her 4 times.
She's going to stab.
Yeah, she's
him
in the process
or
of stabbing
the other girl.
Another girl.
Right.
So she's in the process of fucking stabbing this girl.
And
he shoots her.
Yeah, so he obviously shouldn't have shot her. He should have let her stab the other girl, and then he should have shot
then shoot everybody.
Set
everybody on. No, put it back in the building, set it on fire, and get the fuck out of there and delete the footage.
He's got to find a black guy. And
they were black. They were all black.
All black.
So I mean, but no. So fucking. And then people are like, no. I think anyone that's watched the show knows where we are on this. So for me to say, if you think that cop could have done better, then you need to have your fucking head examined. Because that shit was within 10 seconds, he made the right decision like that, And people are like, oh, why didn't he use a taser? So if you know how tasers work,
right.
As soon as you pull the trigger on your taser, which keep in mind, taser's one shot.
Right.
If you miss, fuck you.
Right.
Like,
why didn't he use his musket?
Right.
Right.
Yeah. Well, don't you have any throwing stars? So,
Well, not a bad idea.
A taser. As soon as as soon as you fire that thing, the little darts are heading in separate directions, and if one hits you, then a dart hit you. But if both hit you, then you can fucking zap somebody. You can juice them up.
Right.
But one's not going to do shit.
And even if you hit him with both, she's already coming down. She's gonna get tased, but she's still gonna stab the other girl.
Probably.
More than likely. Yep.
So he shot her, and actually the shooting was really good. He was really fast. It's fucking horrible that girl died, but he did what he had to do to save that other girl. And
I mean,
there's just
how
no
horrible. I mean, she was in the act of murdering somebody.
I don't know what
Okay, so maybe the other chick deserved it.
We've all wanted to stab people.
Still.
But
right, but you can't do it.
But as far as this cop's
okay, my second rule to life, pull the goalie, and don't stab somebody in front of a fucking cop.
That's also true.
I mean, that's on you.
Yeah, at least not while they have a body cam on.
Yeah, well, I did see kind of the outrage on that. Didn't watch the video because, God damn it, Kyle, they're fucking disturbing. So last time we talked, and since then the George Floyd verdict came out. Since the last time we were together, which I mean I felt was a justified verdict, but it was a kind of an intense thing. And then last time we were together, Kyle was telling, and God damn it, I'm gonna fucking laugh again. And I watched this, and there's nothing to laugh about the fucking female cop that goes over to try to arrest the drunk guy and ends up shooting the drunk guy's mom. And I couldn't stop laughing about that last time. But goddamn, it's not funny. It was a really tragic. It was
so yeah.
Tragic.
You've watched it since then, but you hadn't watched it yet, right?
When I saw
when we
were
first
talking about it,
yeah.
I couldn't stop laughing about it because I hadn't watched the video.
Yeah. But then when
I
you
wouldn't
watched the
have been
video,
laughing.
But you did see the video.
Oh yeah, it's fucking horrible.
But you laughed again,
so
didn't you?
horrible. No, I felt horrible. I mean, horrible.
It was so fucking terrible, though.
This is kind of a perfect storm because I was feeling really shitty about watching that video, and just kind of this was all swimming around in my head, and the George Floyd verdict came out, and I do what I always do, and I listened to a podcast, and the podcast was by Sam Harris, Making Sense, who I find to just be a wonderful, calming, reasonable human being. And he was having a conversation with Renner Gracie, who is one of the greatest, I mean, they're the Gracies. He's one of they're the greats, right? And Sam and Renner were talking about what could be done about police training and how they could make it better. And I seriously want to dedicate the rest of my life, at least one day a week, to changing this.
So a seventh of the rest of your life.
Yes, a seventh of the rest of my life. It'll be about a year, all cumulative. So I listened to this thing, and it was just great. So basically, the Gracies, or Gracie University, they decided that they wanted to really kind of figure, and this was a while ago. They've been training cops forever. It's called Gracie Tactical Training. You can send cops to go get Gracie Tactical Training and all that stuff. But they have the numbers, and I apologize because I hate reading to everybody, but this is kind of the summation of everything, and I think it's super important, and then I'll explain how it matters to me. Okay, so this is right off the Gracie Academy or Gracie University website, and this is a lot about what they talked about in the podcast. But it says police training reimagined. The average police officer in America receives less than 4 hours of hands-on self-defense tactics training per year, and that's simply not enough. We have long hypothesized that regular off-duty jiu-jitsu training, at least 1 hour per week for law enforcement officers, could increase officer safety, lower department liability, and reduce the likelihood of injuries to suspects. But the evidence to support this hypothesis has mostly been anecdotal up until now. After nearly 30 years of advocating for more jiu-jitsu in law enforcement, it feels like we're finally turning the corner on defensive tactic training in America. Share the information containing herein with your colleagues and your command staff. This is addressed to police officers. And then the agency, and when the agency is ready to take the next step, we're here to help. Okay, so this is what happened. Mandatory BJJ training for police case study. In Marietta, Georgia, the Marietta, Georgia Police Department has been sending officers to Gracie Survival Tactic training courses since 2009. And there's thousands and thousands of people who have done that GST training, which is great. And after a use of force video went viral for all the wrong reasons, they knew it was time to change. On April 1st of 2019, the Marietta PD, the MPD, instituted a training program that made bi-weekly Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu training mandatory for all new hires during the 5 months that they were in the police academy. The training took place at a carefully vetted, civilly owned and operated BJJ academy within the community. So just the cops didn't teach them. It was just a regular BJJ school. The program was so successful that on July 1st, 2020, the Marietta PD extended the department sponsorship of BJJ training opportunities to all in-service officers. So this is what the data showed. To date, 95 of the 145 sworn MPD officers have opted to be part of the BJJ program, and 50 officers have not. Okay? The officers who averaged at least one BJJ class per week were referred to as BJJ officers. Here is the summary of the data collected. Training injuries. MPD has had 95 officers attending over 2,600 civilian-operated jiu-jitsu classes, and they had one injury reported. It was a broken nose. The guy got a broken nose on a takedown. Taser deployment. Since the inception of the program, non-BJJ officers used their tasers 75% of use of force in their tasers in 75% of the use of force incidences. BJJ officers use their tasers 54% of the time in the use of force incidences, 85% of which were used to stop foot pursuits, not to end physical alterations. So you got a bitch running away from you. You shoot him in the butt. Okay? So that's a 23% reduction in taser deployments for the officers that train BJJ. Use of force injuries. In the 18 months prior to instituting mandatory BJJ training, 29 officers were injured while carrying out arrests. In the 18 months after instituting the mandatory BJJ training for new hires, 15 officers were injured while carrying out arrests. Yeah, so 29 to 15. So 48% reduction in officer injuries department-wide. None of the injured officers were BJJ officers. Which is great. We don't want our cops to get hurt. But what are we really talking about? We're talking about not hurting the suspects. So let's talk about that. Injuries to suspects. In 2020, there were 33 use of force incidences involving the Marietta PD. 20 incidents involving non-BJJ officers and 13 incidences involving BJJ officers. In the 20 incidents involving the non-BJJ officers, suspects sustained injuries requiring hospitalization 65% of the time. 13 incidents of suspect hospitalization. Okay, yeah. So 20 incidences. So the 20 incidences, they hurt the suspect. 13 of those fuckers had to go to the hospital. In the 13 incidences involving the BJJ officers, the suspects sustained injuries requiring hospitalization 31% of the time. So out of the 13 times that the BJJ officers hurt the suspect, only 4 of the suspects ended up going to the hospital. So serious injuries to the suspects were reduced 53% of the time when they were interacting with BJJ officers. BJJ officers are 59% less likely to engage in use of force than non-BJJ officers. Now, this next part is financial, and I'm just going to skip through it a little bit but it just makes sense. Just based on the average worker comp claim of about $5,000, the total estimated savings to the police department was $66,000 for that year. Training investment cost $26,000 because the department paid for the BJJ classes. They paid $10 per class. So that's $206,000. So there was a net savings of $40,000. Okay, and then it goes on talking about all the other benefits of the BJJ and whatever. After listening to this podcast, I got really fucking excited. I went onto their website. I looked at all the different shit, and I was like, oh my God, we need to teach police officers BJJ. So I went to Joe, who is the general manager at Takedown, and I pitched him. And he was like, I'm fucking in. We're not 100% sure how it's going to work, whether or not, what we're really trying to figure out is whether or not we're actually going to work with the Gracie University and use their program. And they have a wonderful program. They are really, I mean, like, they're just super duper well organized or whatever. And they have a really good program laid out on what they, you know, like, this is lesson 1, this is lesson 2 or whatever. And it's a possibility that we're going to like actually work directly with them, but it's also a possibility we're going to just end up writing our own curriculum. There's some financial things that maybe don't make sense for us to do it actually through them. But regardless, in my 20 some years of experience doing jiu-jitsu, let me tell you, it makes a huge difference if you know jiu-jitsu. And one of my main students, his name is Hunter. He's 21-year-old, recent graduate of the police academy through CLC, and he just started at the sheriff's department. He's got just a few tiny little things left to do before he actually becomes a licensed police officer. So he's just doing like clerical work or some shit there. He's going to be my main guy, and we are working on putting a curriculum together, and we are going to be able to offer fucking classes to cops at Takedown. And it's all I can think about now, because I don't know about you guys, but I have felt so fucking frustrated with the state of the state, you know, of the whole debate, like defund the police, fund the police, what are we gonna do, and how do we fix this and everything? And I'm like, you know what? It's not that hard. Now, is there systemic racism? Whatever. Those are big problems that I don't have solutions to. But what I absolutely know is that if you are capable of taking care of yourself, you are so much less likely to hurt somebody in a situation. I wanted to read one more tiny part to this, which they're talking about, you know, wellness, improvement, whatever, true confidence, right? But this is a little part that I really thought was interesting. Prefrontal cortex activation. The prefrontal cortex is the part of the brain that controls rational decision making. Among other things, when an officer experiences an actual or perceived loss of control in a physical altercation, the brain is taken over by the amygdala, and that's the part of the brain responsible for the fear response that causes an officer to fight, flight, or freeze. When the amygdala hijack takes place, an officer is much more likely to rapidly escalate the level of force, even in a situation for which the escalation isn't necessary, by giving the officer a highly effective strategies and techniques to maintain control during an altercation. BJJ enables an officer to maintain prefrontal cortex activation and avoid the amygdala hijack, thereby avoiding any unnecessary escalation of force. All of the negative consequences to which the officer and the community that may result from escalating force, it may be avoided. It may have been avoided.
And you might not shoot somebody's mom.
And you might not shoot somebody's mom. So But like,
That fucking video was crazy.
but it's actually kind of hard for me to put myself in a situation like to put myself even as a mind experiment into a situation like that. I don't. I don't really get.
It's hard to imagine getting that fucking raveled.
Right. I don't know if I've told the story on here before, but if I did, I apologize, and I'll just tell it again. But we were talking a little bit about hockey, and hockey players like to fight. But there was a time, not that long ago, where I was sitting. I came into to 9th Street, not to work, just to have a beer. And I came and I sat down at the bar next to a friend of mine, and she. There was a guy who I may have cock blocked him a little bit, like totally unintentionally, but he was like kind of hitting on her or whatever. But I sat down next to her, and then she definitely didn't want any of his attention. Anyway, and hockey was on. And he was talking about how much of a badass hockey player he was, and he was talking about how he's like, yeah, I just like, and he's talking to me, and I'm just like drinking my beer and whatever, and he's like, yeah, I used to like to mix it up, I used to like to fight, and yeah, and I was like, yeah, man, cool, and he's like, yeah, I love to fight. Hey, you want to fight me? And I was like, yeah, okay, sure. And I have another drink of my beer, and he goes, oh, okay, yeah, you want to go outside? And I was like, no, man, let's just do it right here. And I just take another drink of my beer, and he's like, oh, okay, well okay. When do you want to go? And I said, I'll tell you what, dude, just you start, and then like I'll catch up. Yeah, like, and then Rob was like, then Rob caught wind of it and like came over and chewed on the guy and threw him out or whatever. Threw him out, just chased him out. And I was like, Rob, what the fuck are you doing? And he's like, well, that guy was being an asshole. I said, I know, and I was gonna get to show him how much of an asshole he was being. All he had to do was touch me. And Rob's like, oh, I'm sorry, man. He goes, I says, that's fine, it's fine. He goes, well, what should I do in the future? And I said, well, you could move a couple tables out of the way. And okay, funny story, but and it's true. But the truth is that my heart rate didn't even go up during that time, right? Because he couldn't hurt me. There was nothing he could do to me that I felt where I would have felt. Now, is that true? No, probably not. He could have got
training. And
he could have had a
shit.
gun. He could have had a knife. He could have. Maybe he was a fucking. Brazilian Jiu Jitsu black belt. That's really the only thing I fear. But the truth is I didn't think so. I don't think so. And I just didn't have. So I was completely in control of my, my decision-making brain. I wasn't in my lizard brain fighting for my life. And I can't even really put myself in that situation of like, it's hard for me because I have been training for so long. But that's not true of everybody. That's not, and we 4 hours a year is not enough training for anybody to learn pretty much anything, So I don't know how it's all going to work out. If whether or not we're going to be able to get the local police departments to actually buy in and pay for the whole thing, but the truth is, it's not a very expensive addition anyway. And even at Takedown right now, I was talking to Joe about it. We have something like 70 law enforcement officers that already have memberships to Takedown, and that class would be just open for them. So just to recap, I was feeling pretty low about that whole situation. Happy that the verdict came back guilty, but still just like, this seems like a problem that is unfixable. And then good old Sam Harris says, hey man, it ain't unfixable. There's something you can do. And I am just really excited about the idea of being part of the solution instead of just like bitching about the problem. And yeah, so cool, huh?
Yeah, man, absolutely.
Yeah, I'm just fucking jazzed, and it's gonna be fun because we're gonna get to like do all sorts of weapon retention stuff and like real tactical training. And I've been watching a bunch of crazy videos, and there's some really amazing videos that the Gracie Academy have put together of guys who know what they're doing, and like you don't ever get to see that. Yeah, there's this one on there that I thought was really nice, where it was a mentally ill guy, and he was coming after this cop, and the cop was one of these cops that had been one of the academy kids that had done the 5 months of jiu-jitsu and whatever, and he like takes the guy down really gently, like, and holds him down. He's got him in like a kind of like a half back head and arm situation. And he's talking to the guy, and you can hear him, and he's saying, "Hey, man, you don't have to fight me. It's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. We don't have a problem here. We don't have a problem here." Like, super gentle, no swearing, no whatever. And then his, superior who was there at the time was like, afterward was like, "Wow, dude, you handled that fucking fantastic." And he goes, "Oh, that was nothing. I do that all the time." Like, he goes, "That was one of the slickest takedowns I've ever seen." "Oh, yeah, it was nothing. I do it all the time. That's called Tuesday, And it's like, fucking right. That's called Tuesday. That's the way it should be, So, I'm amped. And
you should be. That's great.
And I really do think for any police department, I think they should let's say I were a police chief and I were going to hire a new police officer. Well, first of all, I probably couldn't get one, but if I could, it's really tough to hire a police officer right now. I mean, they're desperate for police officers. Who the fuck wants to be a cop right now? But if I were looking at somebody's resume and they were a blue belt in jiu-jitsu.
On the other side of that, I had a friend that I was talking to about he was pissed off about the verdict and stuff. And
really?
Yeah. Yeah. And he was like, well, I've got friends that are cops that they're leaving. They don't even want to be a cop anymore. And I'm like, 'cause you can't kill black people like willy nilly, like you can't kneel on a guy's neck until he's dead. Is that why you're fucking, if they're quitting because of that, then fucking good, but
I guess I can't understand how anybody could be upset about the verdict. I mean, at least not if they watched.
You just got to be far enough to the right.
Well, maybe you could do it if you didn't watch any of the trial, or man, I mean, what did it take them, 12 and a half seconds to come back? I mean, it was a real short period of time, 45 minutes or whatever. Yeah. They come and they're like, "Yeah, motherfucker, guilty of all counts." And I mean, the defense was pathetic, but it was, it was. It was just. And did you listen to all of the testimony?
Just some of them. I listened to the one that what's his name? Joe's guy. Was it Jesse Wanamaker?
Yeah,
the guy that he beat.
The MMA guy that was on there. Yeah, somebody had asked us a question about that. I kind of forgot about that. I did. I listened to almost all of the testimony on. I listened to a podcast called The Daily, and so they would do and then they would play it. And yes, it was an all in. I just don't have that kind of time. And plus, it really fucking bums me out. So 20 minutes, I can handle that, and then I just gotta fucking move on and listen to happy shit. But I did listen to his testimony. I can't come up with his name right now. But he, and somebody asked what I thought of his testimony as somebody who did jiu-jitsu or MMA. And I thought he did a good job. I did right away. He said Kimura, and was talking about a choke. And I was like, no. But who gives a fuck? It was just it wasn't. That didn't make his testimony. He said,
and I think that guy's a striker by trade anyway.
I don't. I don't think he was a great grappler. No, but he knows he was. But also, I was like, fucking. I really had some admiration for the guy at the time, because he was trying to intervene.
Yeah.
On George Floyd's behalf, saying, "Dude, get the fuck off him. That's a blood choke. You're gonna kill him. Get off of him. Get off of him." And I was like, but listening to those tapes was really hard. I mean, really emotionally hard. I was like, fuck me, man. Listening to the one that killed me, Kyle, was when the old guy was telling George Floyd to not fight it and just let him take him because you can't win. And that was tough. But then when he's on the stand and he loses it because he felt responsible for not getting the message across to George and he let those cops kill him. I was like, I gotta punch out. I gotta fucking punch out. I can't like, I'm like, he's guilty. And he just was. I mean, it was just a pretty, and hopefully that we have turned a corner where we can actually prosecute these some of these really flagrantly bad officers. But again, for the vast majority of the time, it is not a case of a fucking maniac who wants to murder somebody. That almost never happens. Even in the really horrible cases like I can't remember the name of the kid, and I really should know, but where the cop rolled up on the kid in the park, and he was and he had a toy gun, and rolled right up on him and shot him. Do you remember that one? It was a while ago, but it was a case pointed out that was like everybody thought was super egregious, and of course, like the cop was in charge, and the cop wasn't wrong. He just made a bunch of bad judgments. There was no reason to roll right up on the kid. Right? That was his number one mistake, because now you're within shooting distance of the kid. Like, the kid was by himself in the park and was playing with a toy gun. There was no reason to like zoom up on him. Nobody was in danger until the cop put himself in a space where there was danger. But again, that's an amygdala hijack. That's where you're like, fuck, I don't know what to do.
Yeah,
we gotta wrap.
I got to. We'll meet again in a couple of weeks. There was something. There's a YouTube channel that I want to talk about. For the time being, I'll just throw the name out there. It is Audit the Audit.
I watched a couple of them.
Did you?
Yeah. And it was
Pretty
really
cool.
very cool. Yeah. They require 100% of your attention.
Yes, absolutely.
Audit the Audit. I looked at. I probably watched 3 or 4 of them. So it's basically this guy who takes police videos and then kind of breaks down what the cops did right, what the cops did wrong, what the suspects did right, what the suspects did wrong, and
not only does it help you like realize like how bad the training is in some of these situations, but it also helps you realize how fucking ridiculous some of the situations that these law enforcement folks are
have
put
to
in.
deal with.
Yeah.
Yes. And I feel like I'm doing an infomercial for the Gracies. And I mean, I'm not exactly affiliated. We're like cousins. Professor Raphael is like under a so there's like when you start getting into fucking Jiu Jitsu lineage, it gets all wacky, wild Kool-Aid style. But they do these Gracie breakdowns, right? Which they used to do all the time for MMA fights, and they would like talk about but now they're doing them about police videos, and it's pretty good because they could be like, because they'll talk about how like that was completely avoidable, and they're not doing like the really horrific ones, but they're but yeah, that's really good too. It's just good to have. But yeah, I did enjoy it, but I was like, oh, bitch, I gotta like fucking sit here with a pen and a paper. I can't also
but
be
they're
doing
usually
anything.
like probably
they're
10,
short.
10, 12 minutes long.
Yeah, the problem is they're addictive.
That's also true.
So you like
You might sit down and watch a fucking bunch of them because they're
right.
I mean, it's pretty interesting stuff.
Somebody was saying the other day that their kid had no attention span because he only watched short YouTube clips, and I was like, yeah, but how long does he do that?
Right.
For fucking hours. And I was like, I think we just need to redefine attention span.
Yeah.
Because but yeah, they are short-ish, but they're also really you're just like, okay, give me another one. Okay, give me another one. And I was like, okay, I can waste the rest of my life doing this. Yeah, I wish he would do more of a podcast version of it where you would like.
But then you don't get to see that shit for
yes,
yourself.
I know.
You don't get the body cam video and everything.
Yeah, it's tough. Yeah, so I don't know. Like, pretty inspired by that. Yeah, cool. So I know you're kind of you're turning into a snowflake. You fucking snowflake.
Man, fucking snowflakes.
They fucked up. You can't even say snowflake anymore. I can't say a fucking thing anymore.
You know,
Even Snowflake has a Trump taint on it.
I'm gonna.
I can no longer use a Trump card.
Speaking of Trump's taint,
yeah, I can no longer use a Trump card. It can't snow anymore. Christmas is over. Yeah, I don't have much else. So again, I think we're just gonna have Ron take us out again because I really enjoyed that song. So thank you, Ronnie. And hey, let's go fishing sometime, buddy. I've been seeing your posts on Facebook all the time about going fishing. Like, hit a brother up. All right, we'll see you soon.
Got the blues so bad one time it put my face in a permanent frown. I'm feeling so much better I could cakewalk into town. I woke up this morning feeling so good, I laid back down again. Throw your big leg over me, mama, I just might not feel this good again. My baby, oh my baby, I love the way she walks. When my girl gets sleepy, I love the way she baby talks. My work done got scarce, honey, all my work, it done got hard. I spent the whole day stealing chickens, mama, from the rich folks' yard. Got the blues so bad one time it put my face in a permanent frown. Now I'm feeling so much better I could cakewalk into town. I wanna go on a picnic in the country, mama, and stay all day. I don't care if I don't do nothing, just while my time away. I got the blues so bad one time it put my face in a permanent frown. I'm feeling so much better I could cakewalk into town.